ready to be inspired by the great things happening in rural education. The Rural Scoop will bring you new ideas and innovative solutions. We'll dive into education issues and we'll highlight what's working in your rural communities. You will hear from a variety of educators, administrators, professionals, and others who will provide relevant and engaging content in each episode. And now, serving up the scoop, here's your host, Dr. Melissa Sadorf.
Welcome back to the Rural Scoop, where we shine a light on the people, programs, and possibilities that are shaping rural life and education. I'm your host, Melissa Sadorf, and today's episode brings together purpose, passion, and pedal power. We're going to be talking to two incredible leaders from Wheel Fun, a nonprofit that is getting kids on bikes and out into the world with confidence, connection, and joy. Joining me is Evan Puglia, Executive Director of Wheel Fun, whose vision has helped grow the program from a single school club into a statewide movement that reaches dozens of rural and underserved communities across Arizona. And I'm also welcoming Emilio Perez. Emilio is Wheel Fun's new Southeast Regional Manager, and he brings a unique mix of experience to the table. He's worked with Trek, one of the biggest names in cycling for those of you that are on pedals, and he just graduated with a dual degree in law and broadcast journalism and knows the power of bikes, advocacy, and telling a good story. So grab your helmet or your coffee and let's dive into the mission behind Wheel Fun and how it's changing lives one ride at a time. So I want to start, gentlemen, by giving our listeners a sense of who you are. And so, Evan, I'm going to start with you because I know that you have been with Wheel Fun from the start. So can you talk a little bit about what your personal path was into this work and what lit the spark for launching something like this?
Sure. So thanks for having us, first of all, Melissa. We really appreciate it. And I think, what drew me to Wheel Fun from the start was just my passion for working with kids. Growing up in Georgia, I was a tennis player at the time. And I became a coach. And so I was working with young students. And I come from a long lineage of teachers. My mother was a teacher. My sister was a teacher. So I have the utmost respect for teachers, really. And so in a roundabout way, that's what I started doing just as a tennis coach, as a tennis professional. And so after I graduated college, I moved to Colorado to pursue my outdoor passions. And that's what led me into the mountain bike industry. And so I became a mountain bike coach after that, naturally, right?
Yep.
And so when I was living in Sedona with my wife, we decided to start the Sedona Mountain Bike Academy. And so this is a local business where we offering private lessons, clinics, and events for mountain bikers in the area. And that is kind of the catalyst of how I met Wheel Fun. So to be clear, I didn't actually start with Wheel Fun from the beginning. I kind of came in through the side door as a coach. So it all started from volunteering at an elementary school in West Sedona. And so I was just volunteering my time, coaching with the program, and I fell in love with it. So that's how the connection started, and then it just kind of grew into the Mountain Bike Academy was growing alongside Wheel Fun, and we were working together to help each other's programs.
So was there a moment when you realized that the idea that you're taking and moving forward here really had a lot of traction with the people that you are now working with, whether it's literally or figuratively? What are the things that made you realize this is something, that there's something here?
Yeah, I mean, I think just right out of the gate, I just had so much fun with it, right? So regardless of the success, I knew it was something that we wanted to be a part of. But as far as when did Wheel Fun become, when was the moment I knew it was going to be a success? Well, I think, when I started there, I think there were 4 clubs. for after school programs. And then there was some fundraising that happened through grants that we were pursuing. And when we were able to get a little bit more financial backing, we had the capability to really invest in other schools. And the program really speaks for itself. As soon as we started those first four schools, we had other schools in the Verde Valley kind of approach us, be like, hey, we've heard about this program. Can we be a part of it? And when those other schools started approaching us, that's when we knew that we had something special.
Yeah. I'm glad you corrected me. I didn't realize that you came in through the side door, so to speak.
Side door, for sure.
The coach perspective, which is absolutely just as important as the work that you're doing right now. So, all right, Emilio, you recently joined the Wheel Fund team as the Southeast Regional Manager, and I talked a little bit about how your background includes Trek and a law degree and broadcast journalism. So, it's a pretty diverse background. What drew you into the mission of Wheel Fund?
I think I'm a guy of many hats. So I love to learn, and I love to just learn about different aspects of different backgrounds. And, one of the things that working with Trek that I love so much was biking. And biking has such a special place in my heart because growing up, I grew up in that era where we didn't have technology, right? We didn't have cell phones as a child.
Yep.
So you knew when the street lights came on or you heard the church bells going off, it's time to get home. And my bike was my imagination. So riding through the cotton fields of rural Marana was everything to me as a kid. So working in the retail hospitality industry, I began working with Trek, and Trek is one of our partners and supporters. And when the opportunity arose, I jumped at it immediately. I didn't think positions like this existed. I'm a champion for Marana. I'm a champion for Arizona, and to be able to bring programs like this to other underserved rural communities, what I wish I had growing up is I pinch myself because I have one of the best jobs in the world.
Has that experience of growing up rural shaped how you approach this new role?
Absolutely. I think that there are certain students that I have that resemble a lot of like my upbringing. So I think that gives me a unique perspective on how to approach them, right? Not everyone grows up with a mom or dad. Not everyone grows up with certain just basic needs, whether they have the right appropriate shoes or they've been wearing the same clothes at every practice. So you start to, pick up on these things. So to be able to have that background makes my job, I'm thankful for that background that I have because it makes my job so much easier.
Yeah. Being able to bring that perspective to those conversations and really being able to see the backstory because you've been there. I think that's going to be a powerful thing for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So Evan, let's go back to the beginning of Wheel Fund and talk about the need that was in the community that you worked with, and then the ones that you expanded to in the Verde Valleys that really did lead to the creation of Wheel Fund. Was there a particular gap that you were hoping to fill outside of just something for kids to do after the school day was over?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're familiar with Arizona public schools, I mean, they're somewhat chronically underfunded. I mean, I think that they rank 49th or 50th in the state for public school funding. And so, especially in the Verde Valley, we really were looking for support for these students, right? We were looking for something for the kids to do, but not just something for them to do. We were trying to offer resources for them, right? Because a lot of the students that we coach and a lot of the students that are a part of Wheel Fund, they don't have bicycles at home. And this is really their opportunity to have that experience. And I think that that's what's so refreshing for Emilio and I. I coach on a professional level with kids who have really nice bikes, but with Wheel Fun, this is a totally unique experience and opportunity for these students. So, that was the driving force, was to be able to not only give these students that opportunity, but these schools, right? It's a turnkey program, and the schools that are involved, they don't have to pay anything, right? It's a completely free program. So,
can you talk, Evan, a little bit? You mentioned a couple of things about the structure of the program. For those of the listeners that are not familiar with Wheel Fun, can you just do a high-level synopsis? What is it that the program does, and who does it serve?
Yeah, sure. So Wheel Fun, it's an Arizona-based nonprofit. And as I mentioned, we provide free turnkey after-school mountain bike clubs to rural public schools in Arizona. So we currently have 50 this fall. That's how many programs that we'll have. But what is also unique about Wheel Fun is that we don't just provide the after-school bike club. In addition to that, we have a few program initiatives, and you may have heard about some of these, such as we built 4 bike parks on school campuses, with a 5th that's in the design phase. And that was fueled by trying to create safe places for students to ride. In addition to that, we also have free fall break camps, spring break camps, and a summer camp for these students. So we invite them to a week-long camp, totally free to their parents, and we provide the bikes, everything that they need. We have scholarships. I mean, the list really goes on, but I think at our core, we just provide outdoor opportunities for students.
And when you were first standing up the program, what did those conversations sound like with the schools or with the parents that you were trying to engage and get them involved?
Yeah, I think it was almost comical, because it was their reaction. We saw it a lot, which was like, what's the catch, right? The schools actually didn't trust us at first, and they wouldn't return our emails. And, we had to kind of pitch the program when we were first getting started. And a lot of the superintendents and teachers, they were just like, nah, can't be true. Or they thought there was a lot of data collection. There's a lot of things that come with programs like this. Yep. But really, that's not our driving motivation. We're here to really offer opportunities. So,
any challenges early on that almost stopped you from launching that you can think of?
Yeah, I think, when you're starting from scratch, it can be really intimidating, because you have to build the entire program. And luckily for me, I came on early on enough where I was really a part of developing the curriculum, developing the structure with it. So, yeah. But yeah, I think just a little intimidation, a little fear of like, oh my gosh, we have so far to go to make this into something legitimate, or at least that's my experience that I'm speaking from. But the other hurdle is always fundraising, right? But we are super fortunate to have an incredible team that is really capable and really skilled in that department. So I can't say that's been a challenge, because they're really dialed.
So this next question is for either one of you. And Evan, you mentioned you're going from one small club in the Sedona area and to more than 50 clubs right now across the state. And that is no small feat. And that's been in how many years has that happened?
About five years, I believe.
That's rapid growth. So can you walk us through how that growth unfolded, and what were some of the key ingredients that helped to really scale that up?
Well, I think fundraising, of course, you have to have the funds in place, because when you're providing these programs at no cost to the schools, I mean, there is a price tag that comes with that. So we were able to secure a few key larger grants that were able to really scale what we were doing. So I would say the main jumping points, if you will, or main large steps that we had, we hired Emilio and Ashley, and also our development director, Jen. So that was a huge step for us because at the time, it was just Wheel Fun was contracting the Sedona Mountain Bike Academy. And it was just us. It was me and my wife helping out with the program. And so with 2 people as paid staff, you do what you can. But when we were able to secure those larger grants and hire more help, that's when we were really able to scale and kind of also dive into our roles, which I think has been huge for Wheel Fun because Emilio is able to focus on his region, Ashley's able to focus on hers in the north, and it's been really humbling to be a part of this team and see what we can do.
So Emilio, I want to bring you into the conversation. How do you determine where to start a new club and what makes that school community ready for a club?
Yeah, there's a lot of factors. There's the business side of things, meeting with administrators to kind of gauge interest. Wheel Fun does have some criteria for a program to come to a school. Things like being able to house the fleet of bikes that we provide in a protective storage. That could be a custodian's closet or it could be a shed. But also really having that champion at the school. We would prefer it to be a teacher or a coach, someone at that school, because communicating with administrators in the school, it just makes it so much easier when they're already intertwined with that community there. So we have a check mark of various different things. Right now, we are growing so fast. We're trying to get into every county by the end of next year. 2029. All right. A little advantageous of me.
I like where you're going with this.
But we are getting there. Surprisingly a lot quicker than I think we thought. So yeah, having that champion, having the school ready for us, making sure that we have that interest. Once those things all align and we have that equipment and ready for them, it's pretty simple. And so when Evan was talking about, school saying like, what's the catch? There is no catch. I mean, we make it that turnkey on purpose. We ask so much from teachers and school administrators already. So to make it easier for them just makes it better for everybody.
Sure. And Emilio, as a follow-up to that, have you noticed, you're talking about getting into all 15 counties. Have you noticed a difference in the different counties as far as communities engaging and being willing to be onboarded?
I think they're all different, but I think that's what makes them unique. But I think the eagerness to start, there's something that aligns that coach or that school with Wheel Fun's mission. So that's familiar, like across the board. So once you have like that foundation, like building on that so much easier. But yeah, every county is different. I mean, Arizona is really different in Bass, and you can go to a separate neighborhood and be like, where am I? Right. So
yeah. And the writing is different no matter the county too. That's probably part of the fun for you guys is there is a lot of different places where you can grab a bike and get in front of a group of kids and go take a ride.
Yeah, some places it's in your backyard, other places you're being creative and figuring out how to get that because it's not in your backyard. So
yeah. So
every school is different, and that's that's why it's so great to have Ashley and Emilio on board, because we're able to kind of customize those programs now and get in there on a personal level and see what the schools need, because one school could have 16 coaches and it's operating super efficiently because of the demographic of that area. And then another school could be extremely rural and it needs more attention. So yeah, That's how we do it.
So I want to switch gears, see what I did there a little bit, and talk about what it actually takes to run a club. What kind of training do your coaches go through? Because I know that that's a big part of how you stand up these programs. And then how do you ensure that each club provides a consistent, safe, and fun experience for all of their student riders?
Do you want to take, Emilio, do you want me to take that?
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Evan. Sorry.
Yeah. So as far as how we provide a safe experience for the riders, we have training in place for the coaches. We have resources for the coaches. And so at its core, where that starts is we have a curriculum that we've developed for our coaches. And so this is really great. You can actually access it on your phone. So when you're at practice, the coaches can pull it up and look at lesson plans and games. There's mountain bike games that we play, just to give them some idea and some direction on what to do with the day. So that's really nice. If you're a teacher, you show up, you don't necessarily have to spend a ton of time planning. You just have it there with you. So that's one resource. But Wheel Fun also is extremely generous in that we offer payment for first aid and CPR training. And then we also will cover continuing education courses. And so what that looks like in the mountain bike industry is there's a BICP Ride Leader course, which is an online course that essentially gives you the tools that you need to lead a safe and successful ride, right? It's just things on how to manage a group, how to manage a pack of wild kids, right? Like how do you even start with that? Takes experience. And then there's even the level 1 BICP course, which is truly a professional certification that we will help pay for. And that's if you want to actually teach mountain biking on a professional level, that's your level 1 certification. So we offer a lot of steps on how you can become competent within your school. And Emilio, did I miss anything there?
Also, our coach to student ratio, right? So we have either a 5-to-1 or a 10-to-2. So if we have 2 coaches at a school, we'll get you 10 bikes. Even the coaches get bikes too. Or if a school can't do 2, all right, no worries. We'll still get started, but we'll do 5. And maybe we'll build up to that, right? Making it more manageable. Mm-hmm. And then I guess me, right, being a program manager, I'm kind of like the jelly. So kind of where everything kind of has gaps, I fill in. So we have coaches that are, not the most experienced on mountain bikes. So I just give them that little extra TLC to kind of figure out, how we go from here. But yeah.
What makes a good coach in your experience as you're working with these programs?
That willingness to learn. I have so many kids that have never even been on a bike before, but their willingness to come back every week, right? You can work with that, right? So if I have a coach that is, open and willing to learn and to be excited and enthusiastic and to be a good mentor to the kids, that's all I could ask for. Everything else is just practice.
Yeah. You mentioned that there's lesson plans and, somebody that's thinking, well, it can't be that hard. You just throw them on a bike and you go. Well, it's a little bit more technical than that. So what does a typical club session look like for a kid from the time that they show up to when they ride off to when they're back and they're putting their equipment away?
This falls into every school is different. I have some schools that are just learning the basics. They're checking their air pressure on their tires. They're learning how to just be stable on a bike. They're on flat gravel. And then I have another school where they're just shredding trails. So it's amazing when you're going to school and just seeing how vastly different everything is. What do you think, Evan?
Yeah, I think it's also important to recognize that we really have 2 programs as far as age range. We have an elementary school program, so that's 4th through 5th grade or 4th through 6th grade sometimes. And then we also have a middle school program. So a lot of times when you have a 4th grader versus an 8th grader, right, those programs are going to look vastly different. So on the elementary school level, a lot of times it is very introductory, right? It's here's how you start on an uphill. Here's how the proper riding position, right? Usually by the time you get to middle school, these kids have at least ridden a bike on pavement, or some of them have. And at that level, it's, hey, how do we ride trails? How do we explore further on our bike? Where, we're talking about adventure rides. What do you pack? What do you prepare for on this ride? So it is a very different, from one program to the next, it's very different. So it's always fun. It always keeps us on our toes and keeps it interesting.
Yeah, no kidding. So you work in seasons just like any sport does. And so what does a typical season look like for a mountain bike club?
So we recommend a 10-week season. In Arizona, most of our schools, the temperatures are pretty warm, to say the least.
Yeah.
Right? So we try to back that season up to winter break as much as possible. At least that's what we recommend. So that usually looks like starting in the beginning of October and ending about the middle of December when you break for the holidays. And throughout that season, if you're following the curriculum, there's a bunch of fun things that are included, right? We recommend having field trips where you can connect with other schools. And then we also, for example, this fall, we have a fall break camp that's offered. So it's a nice time for, several of the schools to come together, connect with each other, go to this fall break camp, and then go back to their bike clubs. And then, of course, at the end, there's the season party, which is always great. We have a budget in place where the kids get pizza or snow cones or whatever they need, to have a good time on the last day, which is fun. So, yeah.
That's great. So I'd love to hear your takes on what riding means for the kids in these clubs, because that's why you do this work. So what kind of changes are you seeing, not just physically, because I'm sure that's a big part of it, but in terms of confidence or belonging or even mental health? What are those things that you're noticing?
It's at every school, you start to see kids who show up hesitant, shy, are in the back of the pack, and then they all of a sudden start showing up early, helping their fellow riders, encouraging others, and you just see that self-confidence just growing. And these are children in different grades too, so sometimes they don't even cross paths. So they're meeting each other sometimes for the first time, but some of my younger ones are essentially coaching some of the older ones. And that progress, many of them aren't in traditional sports. Not everybody wants to be a football player or soccer player. So for them to have a different outlet is so nice for them to have, so they feel seen and supported and to be successful in that. And just seeing that from the beginning to just that end of that semester it's pretty big.
Any personal stories that have stuck with you, either one of you, maybe a student who's really surprised you or anything like that?
Oh, how long do we have? I was talking to you earlier about how some of my kids don't even know how to ride bikes, which is, I think, a fundamental it's just a passage for so many of us. But again, we don't know what's going on at home to why they don't know, but that's not important. But it's so specifically, I'm thinking of one of my students, and every week he just kept riding, did not want to give up. He wouldn't even let me let go of his seat for a couple of weeks. He's like, are you there? Are you there? Are you still there? And I'm like, I'm here. And with his attitude though, we just kept trying, and he got it, right? And I know that kid's never going to forget me because I taught him how to learn how to ride a bike. But that moment of him just really wanting to learn for himself is something that just sticks with you. And there's so many other stories too.
Yeah. How does something as simple, seemingly simple, as riding a bike help to build social emotional skills?
Shoot, Evan.
Okay, cool. I didn't want to overstep my bounds there. Yeah, I think what I see at the schools, I mean, the mountain bike is just like the tool for personal growth, right? And what we see at the start of the season, I've coached for a lot of years now in this program, and the kids are socially awkward on the first day. They don't know how to communicate with each other. They're not friends, but by the last day, after a year in this program, they're hanging out outside of school. They're going on rides if they can outside of school. They're a tight-knit group. They're having lunch together. It's really a social connection, which I love, right? Because I've been that kid at the lunch table who doesn't know anyone, and I love that it's that catalyst for kids to connect with each other, because there's just so many opportunities nowadays with phones and with video games and with everything for them to stay isolated. And this is like their chance to like get healthy and be outside. And I mean, we see the data on how important social connection is now. And I think that's the most important part of the program.
Yeah.
I think it's a special thing that Wheel Fund literally teaches students how to fall and get back up. And it's through that frustration that, kids grow.
That's a very good literal euphemism that's a life skill.
And I tell all my kids, I'm like, you're going to fall, but I'm going to teach you how to fall.
Yeah.
And that's just life. And in any way you look at it.
Yeah. These clubs don't run themselves, and they really do rely on community champions. So what does engagement look like on the ground when you're launching a new club, and who are those people that are making it all happen?
Yeah, I mean, you said the word is champion, and we use that term a bunch in Wheel Fund. The champion is the individual that really makes it happen at that school, or maybe even in that county. Right. So we have a lot of amazing champions. I'll just recognize a few of them. Trevor Creighton in Payson, Arizona. Trevor spearheaded the Longhorn Bike Park, which was our 4th bike park. Basically contacted us to learn more about how this could become a reality, completely managed the project. And now he's going to become an elementary school coach at Julia Randall Elementary in Payson. So not only did he build a bike park with Wheel Fund, he's now going to be a coach for an elementary school. So wow. That's what a champion looks like. That's what Wheel Fund is all about, right? It's people who are passionate about mountain biking and about building community. And what we do is we try to find those Trevor Creightons, those people in new counties or in different schools. And when we identify that person, that's the start of the partnership.
What's your advice for somebody that's listening who wants to bring Wheel Fund to their town or to their school?
Let's talk, right? I would say check out our website so you can learn a little bit more about what kind of programs that we offer. But we're always open to chat about, how this might fit into your community, right? Not every school is a good fit for Wheel Fund. So I think it's great to just open that dialogue and see, what your needs are as a community and where we can potentially help. So
Melissa, that just happened actually. So we're expanding to Yuma this fall. And I had a neighboring school, I think, heard that we're going to another school in their area, and they wanted to learn more about it. And so me and Jen, our development director, invited them to that day when we show up with all the bikes so they can see how it is and go on a ride with us, right? So come out and see it all in action. It'll explain itself.
Yeah. And one of the things that you keep mentioning is the work around the bike parks. It's a long-term investment. It's not just a program when you're talking about that kind of commitment, because it is now part of the community's identity. So a couple of things about that. What is a bike park for those that might not know? Because it's not like a municipal park. And why are they so central to what you're doing?
Sure. So a bike park, by definition, I think, and Emilio, you can help me out with this, but I think a bike park it's a safe place where not just students, but the local community can ride. And within this area, right, the bike park designated zone, there are features. So there can be jump lines, there can be skinnies, there's a bunch of different challenging obstacles for people to ride and basically progress their skills. It's kind of like working out at the gym, right? You get reps and practice doing a specific skill, and you try it over and over again. So it's a really great place to kind of push your limits and do so in a controlled environment. So the reason why they are so central to Wheel Fun is because we have these schools that have these flourishing after-school bike clubs. We had 30 kids in the program, maybe even a wait list, and they were riding on dirt roads around the school, and so there were no true mountain bike trails there. Mm-hmm. And so and that's the case with a lot of our schools. But what we do is we identify the need at that school, and then we build a bike park there to give these kids a better opportunity and a place for them to practice their skills. Mm. So that's the general driving force behind it.
And how do you partner with cities or towns or even schools to get those built? Because that's not going to be just you're going to walk in and put these things together.
Yeah, I wish that we had Kevin Adams on this call, because Kevin is the true, maybe I should use the term godfather of the Wheel Fun bike parks.
He wrote the blueprint for bike parks for us, for sure.
Yeah, so Kevin Adams, we actually have a great blog on our website that Kevin wrote, which has a lot of details on how these bike parks can go from start to finish, right? But obviously, there's a huge fundraising aspect, and he details on who those partners look like for Wheel Fun and what they might look like in your particular community, right? So you have to get the funding in place, but there's so much more than just the money, right? There's permitting, there's design. Typically there's a company that comes in to actually design the features of the bike park. So there's a lot to it, and I would definitely recommend checking out the blog, because we could spend an entire podcast just talking about bike park design.
Might have to have you guys back with Kevin.
Totally, it would be a good one.
Part two.
So, go ahead, Emilio.
Oh no, I was just saying part two.
Part two. Stay tuned. You mentioned that there's 5 right now, correct?
There are 4 currently, and there's a 5th in design phase. That's correct.
And are you looking at any upcoming projects that are further down the road?
Well, so with the 5th bike park, I think we're helping out from a fundraising perspective and just general guidance. But that bike park is going to be in Colorado City. So a really unique location, but this one is going to be the biggest bike park yet. So it's going to be incredible. They have a lot of land, a lot of acreage to be able to access and use. And I do know that it's going to be a huge community hub for the city, or for the town there. And we're excited to help out where we can.
Yeah, that's exciting. So let's talk a little bit about what keeps things in motion as far as sponsorships and supports, because as a nonprofit doing boots on the ground work in schools and communities, there has to be funding attached to that. So how is Wheel Fund funded, and what kinds of things are you making sure that you're doing or that schools are doing so that things are sustainable?
Yeah, I think what has made us really successful is that Wheel Fund gets a lot of their funding through a mix of private grants, corporate sponsorships, local donations, just in-kind support, parents, the community. We cover 100% of the program, so schools can offer that high-quality after-school club without them having to take any financial burden themselves. And right now, with the climate of everything that's going on, that's needed so much more now than ever.
Yeah.
Some of our key sponsors are like the big names like Trek, SRAM, Shimano, Arizona Community Foundation, Arizona Complete Health. The list goes on. And it's those relationships that we have fostered that just allow us to do our job and to spread Wheel Fund all over the state.
Have you found that there are sponsors and donors that really just get it, or do you have to help them connect the dots when you're bringing on board a new potential sponsor?
I would say some of them get it, right out of the gate, but others, Emilio said it well. I mean, I think our best resource in the past, we've invited sponsors to our practices, and we've done that with different corporations along the way. And once they see a practice, they're totally on board because it makes sense when you see the joy in the kids' faces and just what's really going on. So I think that's our best fundraising weapon, is to bring people to what we do.
Yeah. And for our listeners, especially those that are in rural communities, or whether they're small businesses or even civic groups, is it just about the money, or what are the other ways that people can pitch in? Maybe they are interested but don't have the economic capacity to become a financial sponsor.
Then become a coach. Right? If you don't leave the wallet at home, but if you want to come out and help us coach with one of our schools, that's all we ask. Yeah.
And we always need coaches. So that is a big ask of this podcast. If you are listening all the way up to the end here, please know that we would love to have you on board, and we'll give you some links on how to learn more and become a coach at the end of this.
Yeah, that is definitely a big ask, and an important one, because this work doesn't continue without the people on the ground interacting with the kids.
Totally.
So what do you see Wheel Fund doing in the next few years? Are you looking to grow beyond Arizona, or just deepen the impact where you are? What does the future look like?
Yeah, I think at its core, we want to create more meaningful experiences for Arizona youth. And so what does that look like, right? On a student level, we've grown really quickly, and so that's great. But what challenges that has presented for us is that now we can't just offer one mountain bike camp. We have too many schools. 50 schools. You can't invite all of those schools to one mountain bike camp. So what we're really working on is creating regional camps, so that we can give these fun opportunities to all of the clubs that we have. But to be honest, it's challenging, right? We have Yuma coming on board. That's on the border of Mexico. We have Colorado City on the border of Utah. I mean, these are really rural locations, and so we're working hard to find out how we can reach all of these schools so that we're not leaving some of them out. So that's a big goal of ours right now. And then as far as with Wheel Fund, the program internally, I think we're working on coaching support. So Emilio had some great ideas where we're going to start having some community rides in different locations where all of the coaches can get together to connect. We're constantly improving our coach trainings and making sure our curriculum is up to date and the most progressive form that's out there. And, as far as are we going to expand outside of Arizona, I never, that wasn't on my radar until this year. And I don't want to have a spoiler out there, but I think it may become a reality sooner than I ever imagined. So we'll see. I don't want we'll see.
That's part of part two.
That is definitely part two. You would have us back for sure.
Absolutely. So if somebody's listening and they want to get involved, what's the best way, whether it's volunteering or donating or even just spreading the word and being a vocal champion, where should they start?
I think if you're listening to this podcast and you know of a school that could use this type of opportunity, we would love for you to reach out. And so how do you do that? Well, on our website, to start, we have a newsletter sign up. And so that will really keep you in the loop as far as what we're doing throughout the year. All of our initiatives will be in that newsletter. But there's also a volunteer sign-up form. That's kind of just a form field that you can fill out. And it'll ask you a few questions such as, what are you interested in Wheel Fun? And that way we can get back to you, whether you want to be a coach, whether you just want to be a donor. It just, everyone's different. So that form will help us know what you're really interested in. So newsletter, fill out the form. And I would say the third ask would be follow us on socials. And we have an Instagram account, a Facebook account, potentially a TikTok account. We'll see.
Really?
Emilio's heading that up,
Yep.
actually. But so follow us on our accounts, and it's actually really fun. We have a fun account going. So.
And what would you say to the rural school or community leader or administrator who's unsure whether they would have the capacity to launch something like this? What do you want them to know?
I think just know that we have worked really hard to create a support structure. And we've seen a lot of other programs where they kind of just, they invest in a school and then leave. And I think something that we really focus on at Wheel Fun is making sure there's that constant support. And that's why we have the regional manager structure, because we have those boots on the ground in your area so that we can help with bike maintenance. We can help with coach trainings in person, right? This is not just an online program. So there's a lot of support in place, and we have success all throughout the state. So I would say just reach out and let's have a conversation.
Fantastic. Well, there's a final question that I ask every guest. And so you both get to answer this. What does the term rural advantage mean to you? And Evan, I'll start with you.
Rural advantage. Okay. I think that there are so many amazing things that I see at our rural schools that are an advantage. So I guess that's where my brain goes, right? The great outdoors, right? The ability to connect with nature. That if you're not in a rural location, it's going to be really hard. And I think that is a huge advantage that I think of when I think of a rural school, is just what is around you, that open space, that ability to connect with nature. That's huge. So I'd be curious to see what Emilio has to say on this one.
Yeah, me too. Emilio, what do you got?
I'd say to not count out or don't look over people or places from rural areas, because some of the most special places and special people that I've met in my life are from rural communities, and it's a different outlook, it's a different pace, it's a different upbringing, it's a different background, where resources are scarce makes you a little bit more hungry in many different ways. And there's an advantage to that because it can make you stronger. It can make you appreciate the things that you have and understand some of the slower things in life that we always forget because of our fast-paced, ever-growing just cycle of the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. And I think that's an advantage right there.
Mm-hmm.
Love it.
Yeah, and Emilio, just to spur off of that too, I mean, I think just the size of the community being smaller, it's almost advantageous in a way that you can make those connections, right? It's easier to mobilize, it's easier to be part of a tight-knit community, and we definitely see that in our rural communities. So that's another huge advantage, other than what we mentioned. So
yeah, no, great answers, guys. Thanks. Is there anything that we haven't touched on that you want to make sure that the listeners know?
No, I think if you have any questions, my name is Evan Puglia. This is Emilio Perez, and we would love to have a chat with you. So thanks so much for having us, Melissa. It's been really fun.
Absolutely. And we will have to have you guys back for a part 2 because there's more I'm sure that we can talk about.
It's been wheel fun.
It has been wheel fun.
Yeah, they call us wheel funners, which I think is kind of a funny term, but.
Well, it's been a pleasure to have you on. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to join me today. So, and to my listeners, well, that's a wrap on today's ride with Wheel Fun. I hope you're leaving this episode inspired by the incredible work that Evan, Emilio, and their team are doing to bring confidence and connection and joy to kids across Arizona, especially in those places that need it the most. So if today's conversation moved you, here's your next step. You need to visit wheelfun.org to learn more, to volunteer, or to donate. And whether you're ready to coach or drive or mentor or simply just spread the word, there is a place for you in this movement. And while you're at it, make sure that you're following the Rural Scoop wherever you get your podcasts. Like, follow, and subscribe so that you never miss an episode. And if you love today's story, please share it with somebody else who cares about making a difference in rural communities. You can connect with me on Instagram and all the other socials and on my LinkedIn page. I love hearing from listeners, especially when you share what resonated with you the most. So until next time, keep showing up for your community, lifting others up, and as always, keep leaning into the rural advantage. I'll see you next time on the Rural Scoop.
Thanks so much for tuning in to the Rural Scoop. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to rate, review, and subscribe. Your support helps us keep these important rural conversations going. And we'd love to hear from you, so feel free to leave a comment or share your thoughts. You can follow along and never miss a new release by subscribing on your favorite podcast platform or by following us on social. We're on YouTube at The Rural Scoop, Instagram at msadorf1, and X at msadorf03. The Rural Scoop is produced with support from Vela Educational Consultants. To learn more, visit velaconsultants.com. See you next time for more great discussions about rural education. And as always, keep leaning into the rural advantage.